Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, we've got a little bit of a special episode. I'm excited to be talking to Chayse Ying from Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Chayse.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, and we're excited to talk to you because you are currently a junior in high school for like another week or so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, getting ready to enter into that final year, and we're just going to talk a little bit about what your soccer journey's been like,
Mhm.
and how this whole college soccer and recruiting process has gone for you, and just give some people some insight into what it's like for the journey of one particular player, but I think people will find it interesting. So let's just go back, when did you start playing, let's say, travel soccer, or, the competitive soccer? When did you kind of really decide, hey, this is something I really enjoy and really want to get into?
Well, my dad put me into like a bunch of sports when I was little, and he just like wanted to see if I'd be good at any of them. Like
Yeah.
a huge range, like tennis. I was definitely not good at a lot of them. And I started playing AYSO, and then I decided that I wanted to start playing more professionally, if you can call that, at like the age of 7.
Okay.
I started with a co-ed team, and it was just like in my neighborhood, really chill, but it was definitely different because I never played with boys also, and the quality got a lot higher. And then at the age of 7, I joined my first all-girls club team, which was also really different. And that was with Hollywood FC. They were just in my neighborhood. And after that, it wasn't like exactly my fit. So I decided to move teams to my current coach, who is Jacob Tudela. We weren't Tudela FC at that time, but I joined his team, and immediately my parents were like, this is the spot that I think she should be. They're training just like, sorry about
That's
that.
okay.
From a younger, like, it was really high intensity just for even like young children.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really different from everywhere we've seen and our previous clubs. So we started with downtown LA, which due to some complications with the like management, we decided to move. But we stayed as a team, and we just decided to move clubs. And I've actually been with this team for, I think, my 9th year.
Oh, wow.
And I've been with the same coach. Yeah, the same coach, almost the same girls since I was like really young. And that also explains, like, in like some clips you see on my TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot of chemistry, which is because we've been playing with each other forever. It's a really long-term club.
Yeah.
And we moved again from downtown to Lafa, and that also was not the best fit for our club. Just there was some field complications and other stuff like that. And my coach decided to make his own club. So we were there from the beginning. It's called Tudela FC. That's the club I play for right now. And we've really struggled a lot because starting a new club is it's really tough, because there's these big clubs like that you see, like Surf,
Yep.
and just like Legends. And I wouldn't say they have it easy. It's just like at those clubs, they have a lot of money. They can enter whatever tournament they want because they've got a name for themselves. And we really had to like really and literally build from the ground up. And it was really tough because we didn't have a name. Lots of tournaments wouldn't let us in. ECNL wouldn't let us in and play with them, even though like in these summer or these like tournaments, we would play ECNL teams, we would beat them, but still we weren't allowed to play. We still aren't playing ECNL right now. It's still like fairly a new club.
Well, that was
So
that was going to
yeah.
be my question. Like, so if you're, your team is stayed together, which is great, but you've been in part of different
Yeah.
clubs and now you're on your own. So
Mhm.
what,
Yeah.
everybody at least, you know, I'm gonna speak more to the girls side of things, obviously, right
Hmm.
now, but like everybody says, oh, well, you got to be ECNL or you got to be GA, or
Yeah.
maybe some of this, you know, US youth soccer,
Hmm.
N64, National
Right.
League, whatever.
Right.
But for you guys as a club moving around, or as a team moving around clubs and being in different places, you probably haven't had the ability to do those, right?
No, we have not. Um, I think most would say unfortunately, but it's really taught us just that what however much work you put in is what you're gonna get out. And I think that it's like really set into girls soccer that you have to be ECNL or you're not good or your club's nothing. And Tudela FC, I think also a big reason why it's not as detrimental as you would think that we're not a part of ECNL or any of those big leagues is just because I'd say Tudela FC is really different from all these other clubs. I think we really try and focus on like the soccer, like the real soccer aspect. Tudela's message is that however much money you have, whatever league you are, it shouldn't matter. And what like the basic principle is whoever can play soccer can play soccer. So like we have scholarships like all across the club. I am also on a scholarship for Tudela, and we have like a small program called Tuddy, and you pay as much as you can, and you get the same amount of training as anyone else. And really, I think that stood out to a lot of colleges, and I think
Oh,
that helped a lot. Just and we're really getting our name out there, especially with like UCLA. We have some side coaches or assistant coaches training on our staff, and it's really becoming I think that new message that not everyone has to be ECNL to get to a top level of soccer. Like we have two commits aside from me on my team, and one of them is going to UCSB, one of them is going to Princeton.
oh wow.
Yeah, so it's
No,
really
I love it.
not. Yeah,
That's great.
I,
That's
I
great.
I really love being a part of Tudela. Yeah,
So just out of curiosity, have you played uh for your school at all, or have you just played club?
I have played for my school. I play I played for my school's varsity soccer team since freshman year, and I think it's really different from club. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a different feeling as well. Like it's almost like you're playing for your school, and like you have like a sense of pride because
Yeah,
you're gonna. Everyone knows like that you have a game the next day, and you're coming the next day to school. Like,
yeah.
oh, did they win or not? And it's really like even though because I've been with my club soccer team for like a really long time, and it feels like a family. And in high school, I feel like because my club team is like we're all the same age, it's different in high school because when I started as a freshman, you have these seniors, and it's like when you're not playing high school soccer, the seniors are like scary. But when you're playing in like like when I was a freshman too, I was like short. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not short now, but like I was tiny. These
Yeah,
girls were like huge to me, and I
yeah,
was so intimidated by them. And high school soccer really like brings you together, if that makes sense, and it
yeah.
creates like almost like they're like a older sister to you. It's really awesome. Yeah.
That's great.
I also got a lot of my clips from there.
Okay.
Um, I'd say the level did drop with competition in high school, but it's still like whatever you can get out of it, you can get out of it.
It's great attitude. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm happy to hear that you got the chance to do that, because I think it's something
Yeah.
that's always a good thing to do if you can. So, you know, we
Yeah.
talk about high school. So you get into high school and maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe this is something I want to do in college. So when did you kind of start reaching out to schools about, hey, I'd be interested in playing? Or when did schools start contacting you if they saw you at a
Mhm.
tournament or something? When did that process really start for you?
So For me, the process just about like even thinking about playing college soccer started pretty early because my coach, Jacob Tudela, he actually played in college for soccer D1 at Indiana University. So he was fairly familiar with the process, even though it's a little different from the guys. But he got us thinking about the college process when I was a freshman. So we were making lists of like schools, really basic, because we couldn't even talk to coaches at this point. So we were just jotting down like what schools we like academically, what schools we like think will be amazing for soccer, and this like D1 or D3. It was really basic level. And I remember I still have the list on my notes app. I remember I made it like right before the training we were supposed to make it. I completely forgot about it. And I did not think at all. It wasn't even the realm of possibilities that I could play D1 soccer. I had mainly D3 schools, which is completely fine. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself that I could just play at that high of a level. And we kind of stopped talking about it. And then I picked it up again right after I ended my sophomore year. And this was when it like really became real. And I started seriously thinking about playing at the next level in collegiate soccer. And thankfully, my dad is really passionate about soccer. He was not a soccer guy when I first started. He was a big swimming and ice hockey. Surprisingly, I didn't even know he could move that fast. um, but he really got into it, and really like thankfully he was super helpful with me in this process. He also, because he's a film director, editor, producer, just in that industry, he was really experienced with the whole reel type of work and just the cameras and just like talking to people and being a people person, because we weren't always filming all our games. We had to talk to their managers to get the game footage and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And we were starting to just really hone in on like the specifics of schools. And we didn't even think about soccer at first. We were just talking about like location, if I wanted to go East Coast, if
Mhm.
I wanted to stay in California, and just like also taking into account like my academic ability and if I would even be able to survive at that school with just pure academics, let alone soccer. And that was a really big part of my decision, because I wanted to go on the East Coast. I just love the feel for there. So that was really narrowed down my schools. And I think that's a really important thing to know when you're looking at schools is where you want to be, because it's hard to look at. There's 50 states, an insane amount of colleges, so it's really helpful with the whole college soccer process. And once I started looking at that, then I started taking from that list, taking which are D1 schools, some D3 schools, and we started reaching out to them with just emails, like nothing super serious. We made like a template and we researched about these small colleges to like personalize the email and make it sure that they know that I'm really interested in them. Because if we're not interested in them, they're not going to take interest in you if you don't put in that effort. And we put together an email with my height, my weight, my GPA, just all those small details about me, as well as my reel, which is really important. That completely helped me in my process. That was one of the I'd say, most important parts of the process, besides like camps, because you're not going to be able to go to all these camps. Just the financial aspect, because camps are really expensive. I think that's a thing that a lot of people forget. And it's really important to just let them see you and let them know that you're interested. And once I got from that like emailing process, I was getting emails back and they were reaching out, and thankfully a lot of that I was interested in expressed their interest in me, and they invited me out to some camps, and that this is like where it really I started gaining confidence in myself that like, oh, maybe I do belong here. Maybe I can play like along these girls who I've always been like, wow, can I even be at that level?
So
And
how many camps
at
did
these
you end up going to?
camps, I'd say around 7. I went to a Stanford camp. I went to a lot of camps. I went to a Stanford camp, a Michigan camp, a Notre Dame camp, UCSD, just like also some small camps around me that weren't even for colleges,
Yeah.
because it's really a type of you also have to be really like able to talk to that coach, and because there's so many girls there, you have to make the most of how much time you're gonna get to talk to that coach, which is like it'll be under a minute. Like if it's over that, then you're lucky, because there's so many girls, they're all in line and they
Yeah.
all have the same goal as you, and you've just got to start getting used to that. I remember I went to my first college camp when I was a freshman, and I went to the UCLA camp, and I was so scared. It was terrifying, but I really used that, and I kept it in my pocket for the entire time I was thinking about college soccer, until I actually started in that I started getting into that real process. And you've really got to let them know that you're there, you're working hard to those coaches, and you've got to really put in that extra mile. Like if you're gonna, like you're on a field and you're scrimmaging, they might look over once, and if they see that you're walking, or you're like you're just not giving your full effort, that could be the one thing that really like deters them from really looking at you for the rest of the camp. And that's, I think, a really important thing, to be completely focused and the entire camp. And that's really hard, but I think even if you find yourself like kind of getting out of it during the camp, you've got to really immediately snap back into it.
Yeah. No, that's great advice, and I agree. So I think if I'm not mistaken, though, you've had some other opportunities for other teams, right? Outside of high school, outside of club. What other teams have you gotten opportunities to be a part of?
Oh, so fortunately, my high school soccer coach also had a other club team, and they were actually 03s and 02s. So that was really intimidating, but I got to play like maybe 5 games for ECNL. And this was very terrifying for me, because also I've never played, like I had no idea what ECNL looked like, because I'd always just been told it was so much better than like everything else. And it was also because these girls were so much bigger than me. It was terrifying, because these girls are like seniors, juniors. I was this scrawny freshman, but it was also just really interesting, because as I mentioned before, I've been with the same team forever, and it's really it also prepares you like jumping into a new environment. I think it prepared me just like being able to adjust that quick, because that's what's going to happen if you plan to play collegiate soccer, and you're going to go into a completely new environment, and it's going to be super different from what you're used to.
Yeah.
At least I think it will be for me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you've had, so let's say, you went through a handful of camps, you got to have these conversations back and forth with coaches from a number of schools, both Division I, Division III. How many schools did you have? I know Division III doesn't technically have official visits, but how many schools would you say did you have official visits with, where you were really kind of putting them in the running and really deciding on where to go?
Well, I actually didn't at this point, I wasn't really looking at Division 3, but I would say I had 5 schools that I was really interested in and that were showing interest in me. I wouldn't say that they were all like the same amount of
Mhm.
interest. Like some had already had offers and were giving me offers from the beginning, and others I was waiting on them. And this was like really stressful because when you're dealing with this side where this is really where it's coming together and it's going to decide what you do in your future, and it's permanent, it's you really have to think about it, because now it's not just, oh, let's go throw out, like, let's go dip our toe in that and see if they might have interest. It's really like this is the end of the process. And that was really stressful, waiting on other people, because you could be waiting on them and this one might be like this other school might be thinking you're taking too long and might have the chance to pull out. And I had I was fortunate enough to have, I think, 4 official visits, because technically 2 of them were in California, so they didn't actually have to fly me out.
Right.
But yeah, that was a really fun process, because these had no soccer in them whatsoever. This whole time I had been proving to them what I'm capable of and what I can add to their team, and how the coach might see me fit into his team or her team. And this was now just sitting back, relaxing, them taking you around, uh, and really picturing yourself, if you can see yourself in that school, because this is where you might spend the next 4 or 5 like years at, depending on like how far might go. Might take an extra year, and it was really fun. I'd say I had a lot of fun, especially at Notre Dame. I remember going there and I was like, because I had never been to like a real college football game, and especially for Notre Dame, which is like a big football school. I I went, and it was their first home game since COVID. So
Oh, wow.
it was packed, and they let me onto the field during like in the beginning of the game. And I just remember like standing next to these football players, and they looked like giants. They were massive, and there was like 100 of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was really fun. Yeah.
Good. Well, I really appreciate you kind of taking us through this journey that you took, and congratulations.
Thank you
And I
so much.
think it's I think you've already said it, and I think we know just from the shirt that you're wearing and the football team that you went
Yeah.
and visited, where we're going to
Mhm.
get to see you play here in the near future. So congratulations.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
and we'll definitely keep an eye on what's going on with Notre Dame women's soccer. They have an amazing tradition there. It's a great
Yeah.
school. I've had the chance to visit it before myself, and
Oh,
I think
awesome.
you're gonna enjoy yourself for sure. So all the best of luck, and thanks again for letting
Thank you
us
so
in on
much.
how you
Thank you
got
for
here.
having me. Thank you.
Thanks.